Well guys, some news just came out recently about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and unless you were under a rock all day, you probably would have heard that apparently Nintendo is not releasing or doesn't have any plans to release DLC for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. This comes from a Famitsu interview with Aonuma where he states he's felt like he's done everything there is to do in this incarnation of Hyrule. And he explains that they have no current plans to return to the Breath of the Wild version of Hyrule. And he states, quote, "I feel like we've done everything we can do to create fun in that world," he tells Famitsu. Co-developer Fuji Bayashi also states that they are already thinking and working on the next fun experience, and talks how it's likely to be yet another reinvention of the Zelda franchise like we've been seeing with this entire franchise. Just a new Zelda, a new Link, and a new Hyrule. He also states how the entire team hears about how high the expectations are for the next Zelda game, and they welcome it because they said they've already have some really great ideas for the future. I can't wait to see what's coming up myself personally. I think it's going to be something amazing, but what do we take from this? Well, people are up in arms and very, very upset that there is no DLC. I've seen tons of videos all over the internet with people being extremely confused as to how Nintendo didn't decide to add DLC to this game and how it just didn't make sense. Well, I am on the completely other side of the fence here, where I'm actually fine with it, you know, and actually I expected this, and I was kind of hoping in a way there wasn't DLC. And I know a lot of people are gonna be like, what are you talking about? Why would you hope such a thing? Let me try to explain it to you. The only reason Tears of the Kingdom started was because of the DLC from Breath of the Wild. They had more ideas, and actually they said Tears of the Kingdom's mechanics and everything was a basis for that DLC. Like, that's what the DLC was gonna be. It expanded and grew into a second game. So yeah, that's the only reason. There was some more stuff they felt like they could do. They weren't done with this massive world that they created, and it makes sense. It was the first time they created something so big and an open world the way it was. Of course you want to revisit it and do more things. Of course there's more ideas, and people could probably still think of even more ideas to add to Tears of the Kingdom, but at the same time, I feel like, you know, they're done. Like, they did everything, and I kind of agree with them. They have pretty much done everything. You can sit here and say there's always going to be more you can add to a game. I mean, even the games that did add DLC, you could still add more. Look at Mario Maker 2. They had tons of free updates, but you could still add so much more to that game to the point where it would never end. And you can say that about everything. So technically, they could have added maybe a few more shrines, more difficult shrines, maybe one more dungeon at the end with an extra final boss, maybe some type of side quest, bringing back some old characters, or bringing back things that were in Breath of the Wild and not in Tears of the Kingdom, such as the Divine Beast and maybe even Cass, finding out where he went and stuff. So there's definitely stuff they could have done. Don't get me wrong. They could have even put in some more things down in the depths down below. Trust me, there's tons of ideas out there. But at the end, what's the point? You know, we spent so much time in this kingdom with Breath of the Wild, Age of Calamity. We also spent time with Breath of the Wild's DLC, Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, for crying out loud, the entire map is in the background of one of Smash Bros. Ultimate's stages. Link from Breath of the Wild is in Smash Ultimate. So, like, there's so much Breath of the Wild that has been taken over for the last, 7 years now. I'm sure the Zelda team just wants to move on. They don't want to keep making stuff for this same world, this same kingdom, this same story. Aonuma did state they are looking for the future and probably going to reinvent Zelda once again, but at the same time, they did say, technically, if there is reason to bring back this same world for another game, they would look into it. But I am praying that we don't return to the world of Breath of the Wild. We've seen it enough. We've seen these characters enough. I kind of want to experience Zelda in a new timeline again, in a new, reinvented art style with another Link, another Zelda, a new Hyrule to explore, and just a new game altogether. To me, it looks like what made Tears of the Kingdom take so long to actually release was really just the mechanics of the building process. That code and programming alone, just to put things together and build things, as for it to work so perfectly the way it does in the game with no glitches, no bugs, and just a flawless building mechanic, that alone probably took, 90% of the time to make this game. Because when you look at it and you unwrap the layers, Tears of the Kingdom isn't all that different from Breath of the Wild. It adds some dungeons within the overworld, and it just kind of changed a couple locations with a couple of sky islands. And yes, you have the giant depths, But, you know, I have my opinion on the depths. I think it's a really awesome area that's completely vacant of anything to do, which almost feels like maybe it's a generated part of the map where it's just a whole bunch of random cliff sides and random caverns with nothing in them. So, yeah, personally, I do feel like a lot of the time to make this game definitely just went into the building process. So I wouldn't even doubt that Nintendo could have been working on the very next game while they were already finishing up Tears of the Kingdom. I'm just saying, it could have happened, probably not. But regardless, we know they're probably working on this next game now, and maybe they just didn't want to spend any time and focus on any DLC. Something else that's very important to think about is we are at the end of the Switch's life cycle, like the very end. And I know the next console is apparently rumored to be backwards compatible, so yeah, that doesn't matter, I guess. But at the same time, I feel like Nintendo wants to end all current Switch games before that next console comes out, so I don't think we're going to be getting DLC for any upcoming games. That includes Mario Wonder, anything else coming out for the rest of the year, Mario RPG, probably regardless wasn't going to get any DLC since it's a remaster and a remake of an old RPG game. So at the end of the day, I think Nintendo's kind of wrapping things up for the Switch, and they don't want to have some giant DLC, you know, wave to worry about for next year. Like, oh, Pack 1's coming out at the beginning and then the middle and then the end. Like, no. I think they want to just kind of end off all DLC. They got to finally get done with this Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC with Wave 6. They got Splatoon DLC to announce. They've been doing Mario Rabbids DLC. They don't want to add to that big pile of DLC. And honestly, you can't blame them. Yes, you can work on DLC while working on the next game. We've seen it with Smash Brothers. When they were making DLC for Smash Wii U, they actually were already producing Smash Ultimate in the same process. So that very well could still be the case. DLC doesn't necessarily mean it takes time from developers, but maybe they wanted to take all that time, every single bit of it, and focus it on the very next Zelda game instead of worrying about more DLC and more gameplay within the same kingdom. And with the timing of everything, since it just would not make sense for a new Zelda game to obviously come out for the next console, which is holiday next year, they're going to need some time in order to produce this next one for this next console. And with this new hardware, might be able to do some really amazing things with this next Zelda game. And I know a lot of people also ask the question, what else could Nintendo do? What are they going to do after Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom? That's just such a silly question to me, because I'm like, you have this gigantic open world, which honestly just needs some tweaking with how you do dungeons and everything, you know, to kind of give it its classic feel again. But it's an awesome formula. The world is so much fun to explore, but the problem is we want to explore a new world. So just make a new one. And that's that simple. Like, seriously, change the art style, change Link and Zelda up, and just add a new story, you know, a new world to explore, and you're golden. That's really all people really want, I think, right now. But my point is, do not be upset about not getting DLC in The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, because I think it's the right move. I mean, this game is already so unbelievably massive as it is, and for the people that are complaining about not getting DLC, odds are they have not collected all the Korok seeds yet, because there's just so much stuff to do in this game. Korok seeds, the shrines, the side quests, and NPCs to talk to, and outfits to collect, and just all types of extra things. This game is filled to the brim, and after myself spending well over 200 hours in this game, I'm still probably not even halfway done with the extra collectibles. So there's a lot to do in this game. It would keep people playing for years to come. But not to mention the fact that there's also other Zelda teams that work on side projects, like we got with Link's Awakening remake. We could get another remake of another game, like we know Wind Waker and Twilight Princess ports could be coming soon. Oracle of Seasons and Ages, you know, getting a remake of those games would be awesome, or even Link Between Worlds from the 3DS is very highly requested, or maybe just a new original top-down Zelda game as we wait for the next big one. There is Zelda all around, and we will always have Zelda to play, if not every year, every other year, which is more than enough in my opinion, especially because the wait is always worth it. The Zelda team always delivers. But let me know in the comments down below what you think about this. Are you sad there's not going to be any DLC? If there was, what would you have liked to seen with DLC for Tears of the Kingdom? And thank you so much for tuning in today. Before you head out, make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you all on the next one. See ya, guys.